Okay, what was the question?
How did you get involved in Intergroup?
Okay, so even before coming to grad school at Michigan, my process moving toward Intergroup kind of started when I was an undergrad. I was always interested in talking about issues around race, class, privilege. But one of the really pivotal pieces is when I participated in this dialogue in undergrad that was about. It asked the question, "Who is college for?" So. One of the things we were talking about was college for people who could only for people who could afford it, or did other opportunities or other ways need to be made to for people who weren't wealthy or who were in different areas of life and couldn't afford the monetary piece. Were there other measures that we could use to get people into college?
This was in college that you
This was in
talked about
undergrad,
this?
yeah, that I
And
talked
where did
about
you go?
I went to Oakland University. It's a school in Rochester, Michigan.
Okay.
And so I was interested there, and then I was in the social work program there, and I took a course on multicultural social work practice. So we talked about race, class, gender, and how those things interact and intersect in our lives. And we were kind of doing dialogue there, but I didn't really know that until I'd come to Michigan. And so as a result of having that experience, being in a classroom where I could honestly talk about my experiences with racism and my experiences with being discriminated against in other areas too, and be able to hear other people talk about theirs, it kind of excited this sense in me, or this thirst to want to do that in more areas. And so when looking for an internship here at Michigan for my social work degree, when I heard that there was an internship that focused on bringing people together and communicating across differences, and it involved conflict resolution, it's like I jumped at the chance of that, because all the times, or a lot of the experiences I've had prior to that, were kind of leading up to this one experience. And so I've been really pleased, and I'm really glad that I jumped on to dialogue. One thing that I can say is that before coming to this program, like, a lot of my focus started from a desire to improve, like, race relations, mostly because of my experiences of racism and being discriminated against. But as a result of being in this program, I can see how my focus has expanded. So I'm still very much interested and very much focused on race relations and improving those. But my focus has expanded not to include race relations, but also to include other areas like class, sexuality, gender, spirituality. And so the focus for me shifted from specifically race, to intergroup relations. And so I think it's much more of a collective, much more of a inclusive way of wanting to bring people together. So,
I don't want to give you a leading question, but I would argue from what you've said, what I've heard you say over the year, that maybe your focus went not only from improving other relations, but to improving yourself. I think that's been something that I've seen you work through in Intergroup. Do you want to talk about that at all?
To improving myself, one of the biggest things that I'm taking away from my experience in the social work program here, I think a lot of the focus in our classrooms is about how to go work against oppression, or how to help people and change things as a result of looking at the picture of what other people are doing. So how to stop what other people are doing, or how to improve what other people are doing. And as a result of being in this intergroup program, it's taught me that while it is important to look at what other people are doing and try to change things from the outside, a lot of work also needs to be done internally. So I've been shown lots of ways that I have privilege, lots of ways that one part of my identity puts me in a place where I have privileges that I did not earn compared to someone who's in a targeted status. And an example of that is just my maleness. Like in some of my classes, I hear some of my female classmates talk about how they have to think twice about walking down an alley at night, or they want to walk with a group of friends because they don't think it's unsafe. So as a male, I generally don't think of my safety at night in terms of being fearful that someone will try to rob me or someone will try to harm me in some type of way. But another thing that came as a result of being an intergroup was focusing on intersectionality. So a male is one piece, but when I add race into it, that makes it even more complicated. So while as a male, I don't generally think about my safety in terms of that at night. As an African American male, I am really concerned about being mistaken for a criminal or being pulled over by police, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. For example, where maybe a robbery has been committed and who knows, maybe the person might have run away, but since I'm the nearest person, they'll say, oh, it's that guy, that guy did it, and me getting caught up in something. So that's one of my fears as well. So I think Intergroup has really taught me a lot about intersectionality and knowing that we're all kind of implicated in privilege and oppression in some kind of way. And so it's making me focus on what ways am I contributing to oppression, or what ways can I use use parts of myself that are privileged to be an ally to other people who are not. So